Good morning. Thank you for attending today's session on higher education. I apologize for the delay in start. I had to reboot. Well, not quite reboot, but I had to relaunch the session as it got hung up at 99%. My name is Al Ramos. I'm the Veterans Coordinator at Minneapolis College. I'm a veteran myself. I served for a total of 31 years and retired 6 years ago. I've been with the college for just over a year now. I entered as a private with a commission in the Army as an infantry officer. During my career, I've worked with all branches of service, the Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and even been aboard a few Coast Guard vessels. So I understand the culture and I understand some of the challenges and questions that are asked, certainly after having been working in the college environment for over a year. To the right of your screen, you should see a panel that has a chat tab. Please, during any time during the presentation, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. As I lost my partner for today's presentation for a family emergency, please be patient if I don't get it right away. I will try to check it before I go on to each slide. That there could be a delay, as you see how I didn't change that slide right away. But there's my contact information. I will also have this chat up the slide up at the end of the session, where if you don't have anything to capture that and you'd like to ask follow-up questions, then please just feel free to email me. This presentation is not about Minneapolis College. It is about general considerations and some tips and opportunities in Minnesota for anybody considering going on into higher education following the military, or if you happen to be a dependent or a spouse of a military member, then this information could be valuable to you as well. So here's the agenda for today. These are the topics that I'll be covering in this session. In the case of opportunities, it refers to primarily many issues or many institutions throughout the state. Stating the obvious that college life is different, I'll highlight some of these differences and tips about overcoming potential challenges. When considering your own situation, it's critical that you accurately consider the likely time requirements for your program and the courses you wish to take. This will directly impact your level of success, either as a full-time or a part-time student. As you probably already know, there are many things to consider when selecting a college or university to attend. The main categories comprise academics, environment, and financial. We'll touch on those in a little bit more detail coming up. I will also introduce the application process as well as recommendations for certification, and that's certifying your attendance and either as a full-time or a part-time student if you are wishing to receive veterans benefits. And you may learn that your benefits and loans are not the only resources that may be available to you. I'll close by highlighting just a few important resources both on and off campus to help you choose an institution or help you navigate the process once you've made that choice. This semester at Minneapolis College, our youngest military connected student is 16 years old in our post-secondary enrollment option, PSEO program. And our most senior student is 72 years old with more than one prior degree. So our audience is extremely diverse, those who are already enrolled, and the audience here in the session today may have those diversity attributes as well. So whether you are dependent or you are retired, or if you have just a few years in the military currently serving, some of the things that are presented today may not 100% apply to you, but the information is designed for a diverse audience. So, some of the opportunities in Minnesota. This is just a snapshot of the learning opportunities here. There are 256 institutions of higher learning, including trade institutions. The Minnesota state system comprises 37 colleges and universities, of which Minneapolis College is a part. 7 of them are four-year universities, while the other 30 are community and technical colleges on 72 different campuses. The University of Minnesota has campuses in 5 locations. Examples of a private nonprofit institution are like St. Olaf, St. Catherine's, Bethel, and others. There are 125 separate companies. Um, some of these have multiple campuses as well in Minnesota. They comprise the 158 private for-profit institutions. And as you see on the slide here, Dunwoody would be considered a private for-profit institution. So again, stating the obvious, college life is different. Here are just a few examples of how college life um, or university life may differ from high school, military life, or even full-time employment. The bottom line is that there's much greater freedom in college than in those other phases of life. With that freedom to choose a program, course, activities, and more comes higher expectation from your instructors and the institution. To succeed, it's critical in you to be punctual, meet deadlines, and very importantly, communicate. If you don't understand something, the quickest way to overcome a problem is to ask someone. Ask your instructor, the Veterans Service Office, your academic advisor, a tutor, fellow classmates. There are so many resources available and people willing to assist you. And so college is not meant for you to go it alone. It's to learn and grow with others. If you have not been a regular user of computers or some other software or some of the software that you will be using, I would recommend that you seek information or you seek informal instruction on how to do the basics and then build on that, because the ability to use your technology and then process information quickly will reduce a lot of the stress, and you'll see the time requirements coming up in the next slide. But it's one way, if you can get the basics out, you are going to alleviate a lot of that stress and be able to complete tasks much more rapidly and have a better experience. And time commitment, as I mentioned. This is another thing that is different in how um, your experience at a college differs from the military, a job, or high school, where you get to manage and calculate how much time you're going to apply on to different things. At most institutions, a student that takes 12 or more credits is considered a full-time student. Those taking less than 12 credits are considered part-time students. And the rule of thumb for estimating how much time you can expect to apply towards study and class time is 3 hours for every 1 credit you take. So if you're a part-time student taking only one 3-credit class, you should expect to spend 9 hours in class doing homework and studying every week. A full-time student should expect to commit 36 hours to their coursework. Also, one thing to remember is that some benefits calculate the number of credit hours you take for any given week. So you might consider meeting with the school certifying official, the Veterans Services, to review your course schedule before the semester starts to ensure that your enrollment status will not change before the end of the semester, and then you will be able to maximize any veterans benefits that you are receiving. Being a full-time student is very much like having a full-time job. And if, like most students, you also have a job or family, life can become very challenging and stressful. Selecting a college or university. As mentioned earlier, there are three primary considerations, and these are academic, environment, and financial. Within the academic considerations, you would like to consider, class size, lecture sizes, 20 people, 50 people. Some lectures are 200 and more. It all depends. Minneapolis College, for example, are smaller sizes, 25, maybe even less. Most are less than, are 25 or less. Our biggest program is the business program, where those class sizes could be up to 50. But still, that's very manageable compared to the University of Minnesota, where I went. And it was common for me to be in a lecture once a week that had 200 students in it. So depending on what your learning style is, that would definitely want to be a consideration. Also, programs. Are you interested in a college that has the best program in that field? Or do you want to look at a college or university that has two or three programs that you're really interested in, but you haven't quite decided whether you want to be a psychology major or a chemist or something like that? And so you'd want a balance, or you'd want, good programs to consider if you decide that what you start isn't for you and you change midstream or after the first year or two. Environment. Is the environment a good fit for you? Will you be happy there? What are the clubs like? Do you like a large campus? Do you like a more quiet, comfortable campus? Do you need nature, or are you happy in a city? What's your transportation? Do you want to live on campus? Do you want to commute to campus? Those are the considerations in terms of environment. And financial. If you're interested in, there are the usual things there, but if you're interested in a private college or university, there may be more opportunities for grants and scholarships. So don't just discount a college just because the tuition is higher. If there is a program that you like, if the environment is what you like, if the academics are what you like, it doesn't hurt to check it out, ask the questions, visit people, and find out what is possible. Other considerations would include lifestyle, learning styles, I mentioned a little bit earlier, the social aspects like clubs, what's the community involvement, the learning environment, do you like old buildings, new buildings? And again, if you're living on campus, living in the dorms, do you live in an apartment? Do you join a fraternity or a sorority? The location. If you don't have transportation and you need to commute, are they on the lines? How long is the commute? What's that access? Student support. What types of needs do you have? Are you self-sufficient? Do you have a college fund and you don't have to worry about much? Or are you going to be receiving financial aid? We do have students who are single parents at our college. And so they have needs that we help them fulfill. And so what types of programs or support are available on campus for your particular needs? Career services. What are the internships that are available? What kind of connection does the institution have with the local community or the broader community? If you're a social worker, how's the placement program? What type of job entry, workforce entry rates does the institution have for that program? It might be for the school itself, but that has maybe set a lower percentage rate, but for your program that you're interested in, it's got an almost 100% rate of fulfillment. So don't just look at the generals, get into some detail when you're considering placement and attendance. Veteran support. If you do plan to use your benefits, or if veteran support is very important to you, if you have a disability, what is the service? What types of additional attention does a particular institution give or provide for those veterans if that's important to you? And if you're not quite sure what institution might be the best fit, keep in mind that campus visits can help you determine what you do not want. And that's a good way to narrow your choices down. So campus visits, a little more difficult in these times of COVID. Websites, obviously, for me, that's the obvious first start. If you have the technology, it's more difficult if you don't. I know a cell phone can be challenging to navigate the web on. If you do have a computer or an iPad, then the screen's bigger. You can do a virtual tour just by looking on Google Maps. You can set up a tour. Many colleges still have open houses, tours in info sessions in person especially have been greatly reduced. So you'd have to contact the college and understand what they do provide, what you would like to have before going into it. And then of course you can always do a drive-by, or like I have a son who is now at the University of Wisconsin in La Crosse. We took a Saturday afternoon, drove up there, and we just walked around an empty campus to get a feel for it. In addition to looking at the website, looking at the programs, what do they offer for their students? What do they have on their websites for student support? All this information is good to take in if you're just trying to decide where you want to go or if you want to go. And remember, there is something beyond two-year colleges and four-year colleges. My again, personal anecdote, my son started at the university just this semester, and now he's thinking that he wants to go for an apprenticeship in something first. We haven't had a lot of talk about it, but he is exploring that intently right now, and that is likely a good fit for him initially while he still figures things out. If you do decide on a college, there's a process for application and registration. And if you do want to take advantage of veterans benefits, then you will have to be certified. And so these are some general steps, and it's not a cookie cutter because institutions differ depending on the type they are, what they offer, and what they're able to offer. So to provide an overview of the application process and the registration process, I'll break it down to these major steps that most colleges and universities require. First is apply for admission. Depending on the school, they may even waive the application fee for veterans. I know Min State does that, and other schools may as well. If they don't advertise that it's waived, then ask about it if you plan on using veterans benefits. Or even if you don't initially plan on using veterans benefits, ask the admissions office, hey, is there a waiver for application for veterans? If you don't ask, you won't get it in many cases. Next, you'll be submitting transcripts, high school, previous college coursework, joint service transcripts. So these will all be used in to, I guess, one, determine in some cases whether you are accepted to the institution, and in other cases, your course placement. As an example, again, Minneapolis College in the past has had a placement test. During times of COVID, we have dropped the requirement for placement testing, and we use these documents to evaluate where that student, the new student, would be in starting up in a new program. Apply for financial aid. Complete the free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as FAFSA. You can see on the screen there, that's fafsa.ed.gov. So you must first establish an account before you can actually apply. And response to this is 1 to 3 days. So we encourage, and so don't wait till the last minute. If you want to start for spring semester, for example, do your FAFSA now. Come get that stuff going now, even though you could register into January. You don't want to wait till the last minute because it is time consuming. It does require tax documents to determine eligibility for financial aid. And we also encourage every veteran and military connected student to apply for this because the judgment may impact other awards as well. It will definitely impact what the institution is willing or able to contribute to your educational costs. And it may also impact different benefits that you would be eligible for through the veterans benefits. Finally, if you do experience a change in your status, for example, a life-changing event where now you're the primary caregiver to a parent or another family member, if you have a child is born, you lose your job, you are cut back from full-time to part-time. These are all financial impacts that would potentially change your status for, or your award judgment for financial aid. So what you'd want to do is go through that process again, have the reevaluation to see if you're eligible for more not more benefits, but for more aid, more assistance. Apply for your VA educational benefits. You can apply online through vets.org, O-R-G, vets.org. You don't have to use them, but if you go through the application process, then you're ready and able to use them if you so decide. Talk to your school certifying official to see how to sequence them, because different benefits award different amounts at different times, and there are strategies to maximize those benefits. So if you're not sure, or if you want to maximize those benefits, talk to somebody who's been doing it for a long time, and that's usually your school certifying official. I talked about the placement tests. If they're giving placement tests, or if the institution requires it, you'll be doing those, and then you'll be able to register. Without knowing what courses you can take, which is where the placement test comes in, you can't register, or if you register, it'll be kicked back out or blocked until you've met that requirement. It's a good idea to consult with an academic advisor or the School Veterans Service Office before you register. Again, the Veterans Office, if you're concerned about maximizing benefits. If you want to know all the requirements and any recommendations or tips on your program, then the academic advisor is the one you want to go to. Also remember, the courses you take must be required for your degree. This is for benefits, for them to qualify. And that's where, again, the Veterans School Certifying Official can be of most help. Next, you're going to submit your VA and military benefits request. And that's to receive, that will allow, in many cases, well, it will allow you to receive a tuition deferment. And so if you've requested your benefits and intend to use those benefits, then deadlines for payment to the bursar's office can be to the financial office can be delayed or suspended until your benefits come in. Institutions are very lenient, I would say, for dependents, military connected, who are using military benefits. Finally, at any time during the process, please contact your Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs regional coordinator or the schools service correction veterans service office, or an academic advisor if you run into any roadblocks. You don't want to miss deadlines. You want issues resolved as soon as possible to reduce anxiety and to make sure that you have the best experience possible while applying and registering for college. So, financing your education. Briefly speaking, we spoke about the FAFSA. Recommend it in most cases, if not just encouraged. There may be times where it's required if you are going to receive anything other than financial aid. Veterans Benefits, vets.org. Those are available to you. What we haven't talked about are scholarships and grants. There are more scholarships and grants available than I have a clue about. There are some that are very specific to veterans, can only be a veteran, can only be a wounded veteran, can only be a wounded veteran in a certain campaign, can only be a female veteran. There are donors who have earmarked for whatever passionate reason they have that want to make sure that somebody similar to a loved one that they had have set aside money to make available for that type of person to be able to get an education and have less financial burden when they are doing so. And so places to look are the VFW, American Legion, and then military associations. It could be a unit like the 82nd Airborne Association. It could be the Navy Association or an Air Force Association. So whatever your affiliation is, start researching those and see where the different grants or scholarships might be. And then it also might be a scholarship specific to your program. It could be a scholarship specific to HVAC or to welders. It could be a nursing scholarship. It could be a nursing scholarship from Hennepin County. Again, there are some very, very specific scholarships and grants out there available, but you've got to do the work to look for them. And they could be, $500, $250, $1,500, or it could be a year's worth of tuition. So those are available. You can learn about them online, ask people, academic advisors, people, financial aid advisors may have information. Resources. So on-campus resources, I've mentioned Veteran Services Office several times, and that usually includes the school certifying official with that. Academic advisors for programs, for sure. Financial advisors for financial aid, certainly if there's any issues with payments or reimbursements. Career services, as I mentioned, there may be internships or job placement following school, and don't start talking to career services right before you graduate. Get into that process, especially if you want to have an opportunity for internships. Many internships hire or at least accept applications a year before they fill. And so if you wait until spring because you want a summer internship, it's already too late. Student life, get involved, stay engaged. That's the easiest way to stay out of a rut. Keep things vibrant, keep your energy level up. Instructors and professors, communicate with them. If you have an issue, you're not going to be in class, find out if you can that information before class. Turn in your assignments early rather than asking, hey, can I turn it in late? They would much prefer something to come to them early rather than late. And once you get late, it's really hard to catch up. So try to keep up with whatever that's why that time commitment planning is so crucial. upperclassmen. And this may be an area where a lot of people just don't take advantage of that. This is also an area where clubs can be of benefit. If you're engaging with different groups of people, you find people with similar interests, and they may be in, ahead of you 1 or 2 years. You can ask all kinds of questions. You can ask questions about teachers. Okay, don't necessarily say, "Oh yeah, go with the easy one." You want something challenging. You want a good instructor where you're going to learn who you can learn from, and you can also come to them in the future if you have questions about other courses. Off-campus resources, Veterans Affairs. There are a lot of groups. So I'm going to step back out of the college environment. But if you've recently separated from the military and you haven't been to the VA, go in and do that paperwork, get in the system. You may say, "Hey, I'm healthy, and this is what I did the first time I got out. Hey, I'm healthy. I don't need it. Let somebody else have it." Reality is, if you're not in the system, then the VA doesn't get money for you. If you're in the system, the VA gets money for you, and if you don't need it, somebody else can get that money or that support that you wanted to give in the first place. So get to Veterans Affairs. Most people have at least some sort of hearing loss. Get your ears checked. Anything else, make sure you get checked up. So MDVA, Higher Education Program Officer, I mentioned them a little bit earlier. They are throughout the state. They support any college or university that can receive VA benefits, they support. So they are online. If you want to know who they are, contact me later and I can send you a list of who they are or a link to what regions they cover, what schools they cover, and their contact information. Office of Higher Education, go to them. They can help. That website is ohe.state.mn.us. If you're trying to select a school in Minnesota, it's a good resource for school comparisons. And then if you want to check out the MnState system, MnState, MINNSTATE.edu/MILITARY, MnState.edu/military. And this is a good place to go to learn about all or get the links to the different schools within the MnState system. Again, there are 7 4-year institutions and 30 2-year trade and community colleges and technology college, community and technical colleges. So that brings me to my second to last slide. And I still see that there are no questions. I'll go to the last one. There's my contact information, ALAN, up. Got to fix the slide. ALAN.RAMOS@minneapolis.edu. Again, that's ALAN.RAMOS@minneapolis.edu. It is not case sensitive, so you don't have to worry about that. If you have any questions, and thank you for being, I guess, the guinea pig in sitting through my first session. Attend the last session today, and it'll go much smoother. I will wait and look at the chat and look at the Q&A to see if anything comes in.